Welcome to this video on the Primacy of Peter. It's the basis for the papacy, which is the very foundation of the claim of the Catholic Church. So where does this claim of Petrine primacy come from? It comes from the New Testament, especially the Gospels, also in the public witness of the Church Fathers and other ecclesiastical writers. So this is what I'm talking about in this video. I'm going to give you 10 reasons which will help answer the question as well, why Catholics are not Orthodox, which was the question Jordan Peterson posed to me in our last interview. So here they are. Number one, Matthew 16, verse 18, the classic New Testament passage. This is the inner ring of the context, starting in verse 13 of Matthew 16. And Jesus came into the quarters of Caesarea Philippi, and he asked his disciples, saying, "Whom do men say that the Son of Man is?" But they said, "Some John the Baptist, others Elias, some others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets." Jesus saith to them, "But whom do you say that I am?" Simon Peter answered and said, "Thou art Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus answering said to him, "Blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, because flesh and blood hath not revealed it to thee, but my Father who is in heaven. And I say to thee that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And I will give to thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven. And whatsoever thou shalt bind upon earth, it shall be bound also in heaven. And whatsoever thou shalt loose upon earth, it shall be loosed also in heaven." It's a beautiful Douay-Rheims translation. So that's the inner ring, the handing of the keys of the kingdom, changing Simon to Peter. And here's the outer contextual ring. It's Isaiah 22, verses 15 through 23. "And it shall come to pass that in that day that I will call my servant Eliakim the son of Hilkias, and I will clothe him with thy robe, and will strengthen him with thy girdle, and will give thy power into his hand. And he shall be as a father to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and to the house of Judah. And I will lay the key of the house of David upon his shoulder. And he shall open, and none shall shut, and he shall shut, and none shall open. And I will fasten him as a peg in a sure place. And he shall be for a throne of glory to the house of his father." So the keys of the kingdom was already an established tradition or institution in ancient Israel. Number two, Peter is mentioned 189 times in the New Testament by his various names. That's more than all the other apostles combined. That's primacy. Number three, in the Old Testament, Deuteronomy 17, 8 through 12, attributes to the high priest supreme authority. Therefore, having a supreme authority in the New Testament is fitting. Number four, Jesus singles out Peter time and time again. Here are three examples. In Peter paying the tax and speaking for Jesus in Matthew 17, verses 20 through 26. Here's the interesting little story here. "And when they were come to Capernaum, they that received the didrachmas came to Peter and said to him, Doth not your master pay the didrachmas? He said, Yes. And when he was come into the house, Jesus prevented him, saying, What is thy opinion, Simon? The kings of the earth, of whom do they receive tribute or custom? Of their own children or of strangers? And he said, Of strangers. And then Jesus said to him, Then the children are free. But that we may not scandalize them, go to the sea and cast in a hook, and that fish which shall first come up, take. And when thou hast opened its mouth, thou shalt find a stater. Take that and give it to them for me and thee." So a stater is a double didrachma, which is Peter's tax plus Jesus. So Jesus is letting Peter speak for him and pay his tax. Second example, "Feed my lambs and sheep" in John 21, verses 15 through 17. He doesn't single out any other apostle except for John to say that. John 20, when John outruns Peter to the tomb on Easter morning, he stops and he shows deference. He lets Peter go into the tomb first. That's primacy. Jesus changes, this is number 5, in Matthew 16, but also John 1, verse 42, Jesus changes his name. "And he brought him to Jesus, and Jesus looking upon him said, Thou art Simon the son of Jonah. Thou shalt be called Cephas," Kepha in Aramaic, or Peter. That's John 1. This is at the call of Simon. He changes his name at the beginning of his conversion to Christ. A name change is always a profound change of mission or identity. Abraham becomes Abraham, Saul becomes Paul, Sarai becomes Sarah, Jacob becomes Israel, and now Simon becomes Peter. Peter's also, this is number 6, he's also listed first in any list of the apostles. Number 7, Paul seeks out Peter in Galatians 1:18, verse 19. He stays with him for 15 days. He's always seeking out Peter. Acts 15 shows that Peter, along with James and the rest of the early magisterium, settled the debate on circumcision. Number 8, in Matthew 10, verse 2, Peter is described as the first apostle. Well, since Peter's not the oldest apostle, nor the first one called, this must refer to first in authority. Number 9, the church fathers and other writers of the early church almost unanimously, affirm the primacy of Peter. Cyprian of Carthage, St. John Chrysostom, Clement of Alexandria, Ignatius of Antioch, Tertullian, St. Augustine, the early popes, and so on, which brings me to number 10, the most important and least popular. Every pope and council since apostolic times has affirmed and taught all of the above on the primacy of Peter, which is a great first step reason to be a Catholic follower of Jesus Christ. So there are 10 reasons why papal primacy is biblical and historical. And it's a good first step reason to become a Catholic follower of Jesus Christ. Check out the Patrick Coffin Show podcast. It drops every early Tuesday morning. It's on faith and culture. Subscribe to this channel. Leave your comments below. Would love to keep in touch. In the meantime, be a saint. What else is there?